What's up, resellers? I'm Rebecca, and you're watching Rebecca the Reseller. Thank you for joining me today for a brand new series. I'm so excited. It's been quite some time since I've had some interviews on my channel. If you don't know, I used to actually do a show called Momversations where I interviewed other reseller moms. But when I rebranded my channel, I decided to just talk to everyone. And now we have a brand new interview show, and it's called Reseller Life. I don't know about you, but I am super excited to learn about how other resellers spend their day. How do you get everything done? What are you doing on Mondays? What are you doing on Tuesdays? Is it different? I need to know. Even before I was technically a reseller, I was always super curious. And even now, almost 5 years in, I'm still super curious of what everybody is up to all day. So each episode is going to be a new, really cool reseller that's going to share with us everything that they do in a day so we can all learn and grow together. And my guest today is Melissa. I'm so excited to have her here. Melissa, I will just give you a second to go ahead and tell us where to find you and all that kind of stuff. Then we'll dive into some rapid fire questions just to give everybody a little bit of context as far as what your deets are, what's your status, and then we'll talk about what you do in a day. Go ahead, Melissa.
Well, hi, my name's obviously Melissa. I'm otherwise known as Vandy's Closet, and you can find me on Poshmark and eBay and Mercari under the same name. I'm also on YouTube under the same name and on Instagram under the same name.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what else?
So nope, that's great. That's just, where to find you. So
I'm still picking up.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're West Coast. I'm East Coast. I've been up. I've already done a bajillion things. But yes, we're going to start with some rapid fire questions just to give everybody a little bit of context into like who and what you all are. So what's your reseller status? Full-time, part-time? It's complicated.
Well, it's full-time. I mean, this
Okay.
is what I do all day.
Okay.
But my husband does have a full-time job that is not my reselling business.
Okay. Okay. So full-time reseller. And how long have you been reselling?
I've been reselling since the 9th of April of 2017.
Oh, wow. Super specific.
That's the day I opened Poshmark, and then I started.
Okay.
I think I listed my first thing like the next day. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, great. So let's see, 4 years then basically
Yes,
about coming
4
up
years.
on. Okay.
Coming
And
up
what
on, yeah.
platforms are we currently selling on?
So I'm on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari.
Okay.
I tried to list some things on Kittison, but I just stopped at like 100 and nothing happened. So.
Oh, wow. But 100 on there is actually pretty good. So that's
right.
good. And then are you solo or do you have helpers?
Oh, I'm solo. Yeah,
Solo.
I wish I had helpers. Well, okay, I guess technically I have a helper now. Like I have a VA that's going to help me an hour a day. So
great.
Technically I have a helper.
That's a helper.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
sometimes
cool.
my husband, but not very often.
They're never that helpful.
Oh yeah, he has no interest in reselling like at
all. And then social media status, you kind of alluded to it that you are kind of elsewhere. You're another, reseller on YouTube, etc. So you have all of those things. Anything else you didn't mention in your, beginning on social media?
Yes. I have a podcast called Reselology, and it's wherever you find podcasts. Yes, I've been really bad though lately about making specific podcasts, like episodes just for the podcast. I've been taking my interviews and putting them on the podcast as well, because some people just don't watch me on YouTube and they only listen to podcasts. So I'm trying to get both audiences.
One of the reasons why it took me a while to start this was because I was having the mental struggle of, is this a podcast or is this a YouTube? And then I said, listen, let's not make it more complicated, Rebecca. You have a tendency to do that. Let's just start with YouTube and see what happens. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to get this going. And then family status, married, you mentioned your husband, do you have kids or anything like that? So we kind of get a feel of pulls on your time.
We don't have any kids. We have a cat. That's about it.
Yeah.
She's very needy.
Right. I bet. And then last one to kind of give everyone. So your business location status, do you have storage units, warehouses, everything's at home, just creeping in on you all the time? What's your business location status?
It's at home. So right now I'm in my home office. And
you're surrounded.
I'm surrounded. But I store all my inventory in my basement. I have a daylight basement that's 1,000 square feet. So it gives me a lot of room. Right now it's full of my stuff I'm selling and the stuff I have not listed. So
And one that I didn't realize on here is, where are you located? I know you're West Coast, but I think that's good to let people know too.
I'm in Western Washington. I'm actually in
Washington.
Everett, but no one knows where Everett is. So it's 30 miles north of Seattle.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No, I just, there's so many, I'm in Orlando in Florida,
Right.
and there's so
Love
many West
Orlando.
Coast people that it's so hard to try to schedule sometimes, but it's always good to kind of get a feel where in the country you are, so we can kind of place you, and also for, it bears on your thrifting and stuff like that.
Right,
So,
right.
so that was all the quick and dirty questions. So now we know like the general gist of things. So now it's time to get into, what this conversation and what this series is all about. Reseller life. What is there a typical day for you? And if there is, what is it like? Let's just start there and see where we go.
I don't think there's really a typical day for me. I'm really bad about structuring my day correctly.
Okay.
So
I'm correctly.
I know, but I mean, I watch other people and I'm like, oh, you structure your day so well. I would probably be way more productive if I was more like you, but
Right.
I'm me, and I like to wing things a lot. So like I wake up and I come into my office. My husband works out of our bedroom. So his office is out in our bedroom. So I need to get out of there because I'm not allowed to be in there when he's working.
Okay.
So this is where I live.
And he's all the time from home, or is that just okay, so that's all the time.
He's been since the beginning of the kerfluffle in 2020.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying.
Home.
Right. Okay. But so it's a more recent thing for you guys to get used to. It wasn't how you've always done it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been almost a year now.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that recent anymore, you think,
That's
right?
true. That is true.
But anyway, so yeah, I basically come in here. I usually check, my social media. I will check, I'm really bad at checking emails. Every once in a while I'll check my emails. So sorry if you email me and I don't respond. It's not because I ignore you. It's just I don't check them.
The email, so 1990, whatever.
Yeah. But I check my Instagram. I wake up, my Instagram, I'm checking that. I check my affiliate accounts and see if I made money in the middle of the night. I check to see if I made any sales. If I did, then I unlist them everywhere. And then, basically I go pull my inventory, I pack that. I try to do that. And that's more recent development. I try to make sure that I pull in my inventory in the morning and then I get it to the post office. Either I schedule, and lately my postman's been not my regular guy, and it's been the other guy. So I don't,
the other guy.
He doesn't like to pick up my packages. Let's just put it that way. The other guy doesn't like me. So, gotcha. But my main one does. Anyway, so I've been taking them every day to the post office.
Is that is that far for you to go? Because everybody's post office situation is interesting and different, I've found. So is that a far trip for you?
No, it's like 3 miles from my house.
Oh, great. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Everett's a very small town. It has a population of 100,000, but it's like the span of 10 miles, like
right.
So
compact. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty compact. Yeah. And then after I'm done with that, then I start to work on listings.
Okay.
As I'm watching YouTube, I do that a lot.
Probably company.
Yeah. I do. I get lonely.
I have to have something going on. I flip back and forth between reselling content and like wanting to absorb that, or just having somebody kind of say familiar things to me, and then the news. I'm kind of like a news junkie.
Me too.
And so I kind of like lately I feel like I've been listening to way too much news, so I probably will start flipping back to reseller content now, because
I go back and forth throughout the day because I watch a lot of TYT. So they have a morning show and then they have an afternoon show, so I try to catch both.
What is that? I saw you post, I think it was you that put, what is that?
It's the Young Turks. They're based out of California, and they're a progressive news channel. Okay. So they basically hold both sides accountable, and they don't they won't fluff up Dems if they're not doing the right thing, and the same thing for Republicans. But they give credit to people that are doing the right thing as well. So I really love them. I feel like
internet. It's an internet show. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've been the longest running internet news show for 17 years now.
Heard of it, but I never.
They're great.
I used to work with and slash for CNN, like in my young girl days when I was just on my own doing things. So now I'm just kind of partial and, you know, follow all those jokers over there. So that's I don't know if I could actually ever watch something else. Like, I don't know if my mind will see that it's news if I watch something else. Terribly biased. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that you're honest.
So you're at listings, and you do that with content, you know, in the background, and you do that on your phone or on your computer?
On my computer.
Okay.
I used to do it on my phone. It was just Poshmark, but yeah, no, I do everything on my computer basically.
And you're a Vendoo user?
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be a List Perfectly, but now I'm Vendoo.
Okay, gotcha. It's so funny. Like, are you the team Vendoo, team List Perfect?
I know, it's kind of funny. It's like, well, this one comes out a new feature, and this one comes out with a new feature, and it's like,
yeah. Okay. So, and how do you have like a regular amount of listings that you do per day, like a minimum baseline? You just kind of get done when you get done? Is it a block of time?
Well, I probably should be a block of time, but I try to do 15 to 25 every day, and I'm trying to do more on the 25. That can be sometimes challenging depending on what I do. I need to be better about putting like things together, like do all the shirts and then do all the jeans and then do all the dresses. And end up doing like different ones all the way through, and then you just have to change your processes so many times that it slows you down.
It does help. Do you hang everything like on multiple hangers and stuff, or you do one at a time?
I used to. My office is very tiny, so I used to have a big rack like you have next to you, and it was too bulky and it was too hard to work around it.
Yeah.
So I mean, one day I'll be in one day I hope we have a different house. I have a bigger office.
Okay.
Or I have a bigger space, maybe outside the house. I don't know. But then I can have that. But I don't. I just take things and I de-wrinkle them. And then I hang like 5 or 6 things on my steamer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'm not allowed to use the steamer in the house anymore.
Oh, really?
The garage. Yeah. My husband is very like, you know, we're in Florida. It's very humid, and he's very conscious of mold and things. And so like, I don't know if it's a real thing or not. Like, I mean, the amount of times he says mold to me is like more than any person should ever hear in their life. This is apparently his battle of life. And so, you know, I'm not allowed to use the steamer in the house. I have to use it in the garage. So now it's like, okay, if I really must bring a bin out there and do it, I will, but I'm trying to avoid it at all costs. So it
sounds very
so that you have it handy, you can just kind of do it as you go, which would make you more likely to actually do it. That's good.
Yeah. And I don't steam everything. If it doesn't look wrinkled, I don't steam it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. I just put it on a hanger now.
So you've done your listings for the day.
Right.
Then what do you do?
Well, it depends on if I'm gonna watch somebody else's live, or my husband gets off work at like 4:30, and so and sometimes he runs late depending on the case he's working on. He's a tech for a firewall company.
Oh.
And so sometimes he runs over and he can't help it. But and then, you know, basically we make dinner usually together, and then we watch some things at night, usually on Netflix or Prime or whatnot. And then we go to bed, and that's literally my day.
So when he's done at around 4:30 on a normal day, is that when you kind of are pretty much done, and then you're just, you know, checking in on the offers or things like that, little phone work, but you're pretty much finished then?
Well, no, I'm Monday through Wednesday, I'm pretty much not done. So on Mondays, I try to catch like Sarah Styles live. She does one every Monday. I try to catch it. I missed this one, but and then Tuesday, we've been doing a clubhouse at 5 my time on Pacific, so 8 Eastern. And so that takes some time. And so, I mean, usually I'm off work like at 7 o'clock at that point. And then on Wednesdays, I do my live at 5 on Pacific time. And so then that can take until about 7 sometimes, depending on when we get done. I mean, I slot it for an hour, but last night it went for an hour and 40 minutes, and then we talked about it afterwards.
Nice.
And so,
nice. Yeah, I mean, for me, as far as content goes, anything that requires a lot of brain power, that needs to happen like during the day, like after, you know, 8 o'clock Eastern, my time, you know, that's prime bath and bed and last minute snacks and fighting to put pajamas, you know, all of those kinds of things that I have done like an evening live on someone's, and it's like, okay, husband, you need to be, you need to handle all the things right now. Mommy's gonna go and do this. But it's hard for me because I just can't get in that like mindset. So it's nice when people have the ability at night to do those, because it's kind of like our wind down or our reseller happy hour with your coworkers. You get to have that chill time a little bit. It's nice.
Well, and if we had children, my days would look very different.
Right.
I would probably be way more like every other mom out there that's trying to resell and educate their child and, do everything they need to do for them.
Right. Yeah. But that's cool. At least you kind of, it sounds like you prioritize, some of your reseller friends and kind of getting in on these key lives so that you're there and, hanging out with similar circles that you find yourself in or whatever, which is nice. And I would like to do that more. Just, it's always the timing of the thing. There's a few that I can pop in on, but it's never consistent. But I do think it's nice that you make the rounds of the people that you want to support. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like general, typically, what happens. So now what are some of the like random things like you didn't address, when you make content and other, like, when do you do you have any sort of regular system where you're balancing your content creation with your reselling duties that you do on a daily basis?
No, I don't have any kind of. I should. I really,
and that's okay. I mean,
I do a lot on the whim. Yeah. Like, I come up with an idea and I'm like, oh, I got to do this now. Because if I don't write it down, because, I'm 45 and as you get older, if you don't write stuff down, you lose it. You forget about it for like a couple of days.
Right.
But yeah, I create a lot of things on the whim. And then I've been trying to I use StreamYard. I pay for it so I don't have to have their branding and I can have my own branding.
Nice.
And I'm trying to, and it's been working out way better, use that to not have to edit so much or at all. So I can put my intro in, then talk a bunch, and then put my outro in there and it's kind of done. Make sure I don't make a lot of mistakes in the middle. But,
Gotcha. Oh, so you can kind of add a little bit of your video things in there. I didn't know. I've used it a handful of times and then really haven't needed to use it at all. And so that's why I'm like, Zoom is my trusty, like all trusty.
A lot of people use Zoom. Yeah.
But and like I said, because I know that there's so much cool functionality with StreamYard, but I also get very like tech scared and I don't want to mess up. And then now I did the whole thing and then so yeah, but that's good that you pay for it, you have all these tools and then you can just hop in and out and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So then it sounds like you don't do you have set days that you upload content? Like, you have a video that is always on a certain day besides your live?
I try to upload either on Monday or Tuesday. Okay. One of those days I'm uploading something. Okay. Wednesday is my live. I don't upload anything that day. And I try to do Thursday or Friday.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a lot.
So I'm trying to do three a week.
Yeah.
2 pre-recorded and 1 live.
I mean, for those that, are watching that aren't on YouTube or don't put out a lot of content, but are thinking about it and want to, I think it's a very real thing for you to consider the time, because it looks so easy when you watch people. They're they just pop on and do their thing and it's no big deal, but there is so much that goes into it that it really, like, unless you really like doing it and unless you really want to be able to connect with people on your own platform, because obviously you can connect with other people by going and watching all of theirs and not necessarily putting out your own. But unless you really feel strongly about having your own platform, it does take away from your reselling business. Like, I think all reselling YouTubers would say, I'd have a way bigger reselling business if I didn't do all this other stuff. Do you ever think about the balance of that in your day? Like, I should do more reselling things, and then so I'm not going to do, like, do you ever balance out choosing one over the other kind of thing?
Yeah, because most of the time I'm not making a video. So what I'm trying to do, like, I did this like a week ago where I made 3 in a couple hours. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I did it all on StreamYard. So I could I thought of what I wanted to say. And then, I'm finding I'm not a planner. So just transparency.
I'm gathering that.
I'm just a doer. See, it's funny because my husband, he's an over planner. Mm-hmm. I make him do things because he will never do them. Mm-hmm. And then I need to learn how to plan more, and then it'll be more a cohesive thing. Yeah, because I'll go to the thrift store. I'm like, I feel like going thrifting, and then I'll go do it.
Yeah.
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 So
It's interesting that there are, because I'm always fascinated. I was a sociology and communications major. So like people, how we do things, like all people stuff is just fascinating. And I find now, having talked with a bunch of resellers or just witnessed a lot in the community, being on Instagram and whatever, like there is really that super alpha A type like me that plans and has a schedule and a to-do list and and then there really are the creatives, let's say, or whatever, that are more loose in how they do things. They still get things done, but it, there is not necessarily an order to it, but they are still executors. And I think then there's this third group of people that aren't really either one.
Yeah.
And then they maybe aren't getting as much done because they're not planning for it and they're not just doing it. They're just kind of like thinking about, they're just kind of like thinking about doing these things. And I think those are the ones that could do so much better. That's not right. Could do better if they adopted one way or the other, like a not planner executor or a planner executor. But I think the main thing is you just have to do stuff. It doesn't matter whether you have a plan or not, but you have to do it.
Right. And then it's worked my whole life. Like I just do things, and it's worked so far.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Now we didn't talk about any kind of sourcing yet. So is that like, are you all online at this point because of stay at home and things like that? Are you going to thrift stores?
Well, our thrift stores are open now. They were closed for a period of months, but they're open now. I used to go to the bins. So I used to be primarily the bins. I've gone there twice since they've reopened.
Okay.
They're okay. I mean, our bins are only letting you in for an hour. And I understand why they're only letting people in for an hour, but you have to wait an hour to get in for an hour. And then there's a lot of people and they allow 55 people in at a time.
Okay.
Our bins aren't the biggest bins, but they're also not the smallest bins I've been to. So they're like medium-sized bins.
Right.
And, or I should say the Goodwill outlet for people that don't know what bins actually mean. Sorry.
Pay by the pound.
Yeah, exactly. And in my state, it's $1.59 for under 50 pounds, $1.09 for 50 pounds to 99 pounds, and 89 cents for over 100 pounds.
Ooh.
I used to be over 100 pounds every single time.
Okay.
Except for this year. Except for after they reopened, I couldn't get over. I got over 50 pounds once and under 50 pounds the other time. I'm like, okay. And it's much harder to get, stay there. Cause I used to stay for 4 to 6, sometimes 8 hours at a time, getting 200 pounds. And then it would take me 2 weeks to process that.
Right. And so, but you don't, okay. A couple questions on that. Cause I'm super curious. So your bins are pretty good then. It sounds like, you know, that you could go in and walk out with a lot of legit stuff to deal with. Cause mine, and I haven't been in well over a year now, or just coming up on a year, is like hit or miss. Like you could come away with 50 items, or you could walk away with 20 items, or you could come away with 100 items, but you shouldn't have bought 50 of them. You know what I mean? Like it's not consistently good. So I think it's interesting for people to know if they're never been to the bins, or, you need to assess your bins and know, is it really worth all of that? Can you consistently come home with a good amount of legitimate things that's worth your time to list?
Well, I mean, and a lot of the stuff is bread and butter. So, I mean, our bins at 70% is raw donation. So lots of the stuff doesn't, but sometimes it has tags. There's like, okay, this stuff is from the stores, but our stores overprice everything. That's kind of a good thing. So if your Goodwill's overpriced, it means your bins are going to be really good. If your Goodwills do flat pricing, it means your bins are probably not as good because of that. Yeah. We get where I live is such a dense, well, I guess it's not as densely populated as where you live, but it's pretty dense population where we are at in the state. Because Eastern Washington is way less people. But so you end up you can find some really good stuff. I mean, the 2 times I found I'm gonna butcher the name, Brunello Cucinelli sweaters that are pure cashmere. They were both cashmere. Yay. We're at the Everett bins. Yeah. And I'm like, I touched them, and this is why I don't wear gloves. I touched them before I ever saw them. Like I was channeling in. I'm like, oh, this feels nice, and pulled it out and had no holes. I'm like, yes.
That's awesome.
But so now I've been going to thrift stores more, but I have a lot of stuff I don't really need to go, and I'm going to do a thriftless February because
okay.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. So the other question I had on the bins for you, because I've
Sure.
never gotten 100 pounds and we don't have that tiered pricing.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
it used to be $1.19 per pound on everything. Then it went up to $1.39. But again, I haven't been there in a year, so who knows what it is.
Right.
But it's always just been, it is what it is, no tier.
Right.
So what does 100 pounds look like? Is that 2 carts? Is that 1 cart? Like, obviously it would depend on what you get, but I'm just so curious, like volume wise, like what's 100 pounds like to get it at 89 cents a pound?
Well, pre-pandemic, they would have these rolling carts that look like big laundry carts, you know, we at a laundromat, but not the littler ones. It's just a giant
one. Not a shopping cart, but gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Right, they have shopping carts, and I used to do that, but then I realized, oh, I need this one because I actually had one fall over once because it was so high. I'm 5'1", and it was higher than me. Yeah, and then it fell over, and some nice guy helped me pick it all up, and then I like, okay, I need to graduate to these bigger bins. Oh wow. So yeah, it depends. So I probably shouldn't do this, but I would put shoes in the bottom. Shoes are flat pricing at $1.19, but I would put shoes in the bottom. A lot of times I would just forget, and I wasn't going to dig them back out, and they put a bunch of clothes on top, and then I shove them up there and pay 89 cents a pound, whatever. Gotcha. A lot of people did that though, because they didn't care.
Our housewares is kind of like that. There are certain things that like you're supposed to buy a certain way, like the hard goods, but then you just kind of, because I wouldn't get a lot, so I just shove a few in there. But
and then shoes would make it a lot heavier. So, but I wouldn't always get there because they wouldn't always have shoes. So if you got like a lot of heavy coats or whatnot, but if you got a lot of lighter things, like a few times I got about 200 pounds of items, and they were all like lighter, not heavier stuff. And because I got it during like the summer months
of items.
It was 300 items about that. So, I mean, it was really a good price point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, even if I got some things that were really like exhilaration, because Merona does sell and stuff like that, and I don't necessarily seek out Target brands, but I know that Merona is specifically, if you get good like jean items from them, they will sell at sometimes $25 a pop, which isn't bad for that brand.
No, I agree. And are they still making it? Wasn't there a thing where they're not making it anymore?
Oh, that might be why. Right? I don't know if they're not making it. That probably
there was a thing that it was like a year ago, probably, or maybe even longer, where they said they're not making certain Target brands anymore, and one of them was Merona. But I remember Merona only because I don't typically pick it up. Perhaps I'd pick it up and then try to sell it locally, but it fools you often because it is a nicer quality Target brand kind of thing. And so it fools you pretty often. That's what the people always put those posts, like, what are the brands that fool you? And I always would write Merona because that's one that just, it gets me every time. Like, so, okay. So at this point, sourcing is more of a, you go once, it lasts you for a little while when you're doing the bins. But now that you're, because I know that you do a lot with buying online too.
Yeah, I like get mystery boxes from like ThreadUp and stuff like that.
So that's not a primary source. Oh, okay.
It's just like a fun thing. It's like, so I can open it up on YouTube and stuff like that and have more, have something for YouTube content because I know content kind of like watching those. So
So then now when you're given week, since we talked about like kind of like a typical day, how many days a week are you sourcing if you're actually then not going and buying hundreds of pounds, but you're going to the thrift store and buying off the rack?
Right now I'm going like maybe once a week. So maybe once or twice a week. I don't really need to. Like I have hundreds of items in my basement that are not processed. So
that's great.
Yeah. And I think what and this is why I'm going to do a thriftless February is because I'm going to either decide if I'm going to redonate it, if I'm going to send it to Swap, because Swap is an option for me. I know it's not an option for everyone right now because they're not accepting new people, but I've had like my original box was sent to them a year ago and now I get to have their labels. Fantastic.
It's so fun because you said it and I'm like, I use swap.com all the time to buy, but I've never sold anything there. So all right, talk about your thriftless February and then we'll go back to Swap. I'm excited to hear about that.
Okay. So I need to, like, I want to make a rotating system. So I do want a amount that's always down there waiting for me to process. I don't want to have nothing down there. I don't want to have no money pile because I think that's a mistake. Giving the given circumstances or any circumstances, but I
Yes.
want to make a system down in my basement that I roll things through and nothing sits there for any length of time. Like I have a stack of, excuse me, I have a stack of bins that have been there since a few years that have been touched. I need to go through again.
Yes.
And see whether or not it's worth my time or if I'm just going to send it to swap. And so now that swap's a viable option for me because I'm no longer doing ThreadUp. We broke up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Official.
Sorry.
Now, is that just on purpose or you just haven't, is it, did I say on purpose? I don't mean that on.
It is on purpose.
It is on purpose. That's not what I meant. On principle is what I meant.
Yeah.
Is it on principle? Like, I don't like what one.
Yeah, because they made the budget change in November, right? And I made a video about that. And it well, the way they went about it also left a very bad taste in my mouth about their business.
Yes.
I would never, as a business, I would never put out a statement like that to other people. I think it was just poor. Like they should fire their
communications director. Yeah.
Director. Exactly. And like that person does not know what they're doing and they're rude. So
yeah.
But I couldn't trust that they weren't going to break my items. So that was another thing I was getting on my returns. I was getting like one box was 50% flawed again, or not again, but there was 50% broken or there was stains on it or like there was food on an item. I'm like, how is there food on this item? It did not have food. Like it was on the front of it. Like you would have saw it in the pictures.
Oh my God.
I don't know what they're doing over there. They're using the clothes as a table placement. I don't know.
They're like processing and eating their ramen.
I guess. I don't know. They took a picture and then they ate spaghetti on it. I don't know.
Right. Oh, that's so funny.
And it's like, there was buttons ripped off of some Escada pieces and and they were the nice decorative buttons and like the shell of the button was left, but all the nice decorative part was gone on a couple of buttons and they paid me for that. But then what they used to do is they used to pay you if they lost your item or if they damaged your item, they'd pay you for whatever it was at for sale at the time. Not anymore. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so they paid me $75 for that Escada piece, which is fine. But on anything else, they'll pay me like $4 on it because they're like, that's what you would have made.
Right.
Had we sold it at our bottom pricing.
Yeah.
So because I couldn't trust them with my items anymore, because I don't want, if they send them to them and they don't sell, fine. But if I send to them and then they get damaged, I can't sell them anywhere.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I completely agree. So, okay. So ThreadUp, no. Swap.com, you had previously used them as a seller, then did it. Okay, one time.
Yeah. Well, because I sent, Well, I sent my box in March. So this is the way this went. I sent my box in to them in March because I wanted to try them, and that was March of 2020.
Yeah.
September 1st, they started processing it. It took forever. It was like 90 days. I'm like, 90 days, fine. No. How about 6 months or more?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it started processing in the beginning. And it was, when they process your box, this is a little frustrating about Swap. When they process your box, it's not, you don't see things pop up like you do on ThreadUp. So ThreadUp does that way better than Swap. But eventually I learned it popped up under a certain menu, like, oh, this is where they're all at. So I can see them and they do not let you pick your pricing, but you can pick a slider scale. So you can pick high or low or normal. Okay. I started high and I slid it down to normal just to get things to sell more. Yeah. So that box, I've made like $45 from that box that I paid. I have like maybe, I don't know, $15 into that box, maybe. Okay. Like from spins and stuff like that. Yeah. So the thing is, to send things to them, you need to be able to source things very cheap. Yeah. Instead of, you can't pay like $10 for a dress and expect to get your money back because you probably won't. Right. It depends on the dress too. Because you'd be better off sending higher end things probably to the Real. Which I haven't done yet, but I do have some things that meet their criteria, but they have, a brands list that you have to adhere to, and they're very strict about that. Yeah. And Swap is pretty strict about what they accept too. So you can't send them flawed items and expect them, or things that have washwear or things that looked used. Like, yeah, it can be used, but it needs to look pretty good still. So if it's faded, they don't want that. I only had on my box I sent them, I had a 7% reject rate. And because it was so low, they let me be a premier seller, I think is what they call. And now I can send them unlimited boxes because I'm a premier seller.
That's great.
But before that, you have to wait for them to evaluate it. And it took a long time. Like I just checked, I think 2 weeks ago, and like, oh, I can send more boxes in. And September, they processed my box. So there was a few months lag in between those processes as well. So I don't know how long it'll take for future boxes, but I don't care. I'm going to send them a one-way trip. So you have to pay to send your items to swap. It's $11 to print the label off and use your own box, which I'm going to do, up to 50 pounds. I think the box size is 20 by 17. So a good size, like a medium box would work well. And I'm just going to send things a one-way trip, and they keep them for 6 months. That's a big bonus.
Because then you're not having a deal.
Yeah. And I'm not going to reclaim. So it's going to be literally one-way trips. I'm not going to do their return assurance. It's not called that, but it's the same thing. I'm not doing that. I don't want the items back. It's going to be stuff I'm sending them is stuff that I don't care if I ever see again.
And I think that's a good way to use these kinds of services, you know, and it's so funny because I did look at swap.com to sell, especially what attracted me was that they were going to take men's stuff too, which I was like, why, what am I supposed to do with all this men's stuff that I didn't want to, you know, deal with when I was downsizing Poshmark and getting into ThreadUp because I had a homeschool geo and everything. But like all their rules and stipulations scared me. I was like, ThreadUp, you can just kind of send it. And this is like a whole 3 pages worth of stuff that I have to like read, and there's fees right away and like a certain kind of box. And I'm like, that's just too much for me to mentally deal with right now. So that's what kept me from doing it. And now I guess I've missed my chance because, you know, now I'm not, you know, any premier anything. So there goes that.
Well, I'm sure they'll open it up. I mean, as we get towards the spring and summer, more people will get vaccinated, and that will open things up. Because I know that warehouses, and ThreadUp had to go through this as well, Amazon as well. It's like you have strict guidelines that you have to go through. Being a warehouse, you can't have so many people on the same shift. You have to stagger shifts. I'm sure some people are working at night that never did before in some of these warehouses. So I think that's a big component as to why they can't process as fast as they used to, and lack of staff. You know, a lot of people don't, I mean, or they can't, you know, work in a place because they have, you know, family members that are, you know, at risk and stuff like that.
No, I agree, but we'll keep us posted on your channel about how, you know, that all goes, because I think that's good content for people to know about as another option, you know, as an alternative to ThreadUp. And, you know, for you to be able to kind of keep those things moving through and not having to list it all yourself or completely take a loss and donate it back or whatever. So I think that will be really good. And, you know, I mean, I buy a lot on Swap, and I've shared a lot of those kinds of unboxings and things. So I do think it's great for sourcing. So maybe I'll end up purchasing some of those things that you said. But all right, so let's just get back to kind of wrapping up a few things about your day. We'll be mindful of your time and everybody's time watching. You know, it sounds like for the most part, you're a true entrepreneur in that you do what you want that day. You know, if it strikes you to make a video, you make a video. If you want to go sourcing, you go sourcing. You don't keep to any particular, you know, strict schedule. But at the same time, you're an executor in that I know if I want to keep running my business and be successful, I have to get my listings up. I have to get my shipping done. I have to do these non-negotiables. So is there any other non-negotiable that you do in a day or in a week that is really like super helpful to running your business that, you know, you have to get done and you make sure that you do no matter what?
Well, I mean, outside making sure I'm there for my lives, and I'm there for the new clubhouse thing on Tuesdays. But I mean, really listing and shipping. I mean, especially since I'm trying to become, I want eBay to be my bay instead of Poshmark. Poshmark, it's like neck and neck right now, but I want eBay to win because eventually I'm going to move to England and I need eBay for that.
Wow.
Well, my husband's British, if you didn't know. So he's here. He has a green card. So he literally moved here so he could marry me. And so he's been here for almost a decade, and it's not gonna be anytime soon, but it's in a few years from now. I'm hoping we can move, and his job will move with him, which is great because they have worldwide offices, and so he can just work. I think they have their ones in Europe is at The Hague in Sweden. Is it Sweden? Yes, I think so.
Scotland.
One of those Scandinavian countries. That's where The Hague is. That's where they have an office. So yeah. So it'll be great because then his job will move, and then it's not all dependent on my income, because I mean, I could, truth be told, I couldn't support myself on what I make right now. So hopefully one day I can beat him.
Absolutely. I think you totally could, especially if you're going to do, more with eBay. And I think, I think there's a lot of people that, when they're choosing to make it their full time, they're going to find a way and know what they need to do to level up. They may not know it right now, but they know that they need to, and they find the way to scale and what works for them. And you can find the things like, if it's putting less time into Poshmark, more time into eBay, or more time into sending things off, or, whatever. So that's cool. Very exciting. I was going to say something like, moving to England, gosh, that's going to be, hard. I've only been there once, but the weather and everything. And then I was like, no, but wait, she's in Washington. So it's
the same. So
funny, because here in the Sunshine State, I would probably completely shut down.
You would, yeah. You need to be in the south of France, and you'd be happy there.
I need
or in Spain or Italy where it's hotter. But
we get rain. Yeah, we get a lot of rain. I always tell Gio, I'm like, you need rain and sunshine to grow. You need rain and you need sunshine to grow. So you need both. But that's cool. I think that would be so awesome to just move abroad and just and to be able to be a reseller that does that makes that, I think a lot of resellers have these ideas that someday we're going to just do all the traveling, or we're going to move and be international. I've heard a lot of people comments on my channel say that they want to move and live abroad. So I think you should definitely continue to share all that on your channel and stuff.
Oh, I will.
That would be so cool.
I make a joke that I'm going to change my YouTube channel name to American Abroad.
There you go.
And then my husband's like, but then people are going to call you Broad. But
I like all that play on words. I mean, my Poshmark closet name is on my rack, and it's meant to be that for, several reasons. Cute. And I like that. And it's funny because some people don't get it. And I'm like, on my rack, hello, it's close. Okay.
That's immediately when I was watching one of your YouTube videos and you mentioned your store name. I was like, oh, that's really clever. And I'm thinking, on my rack or on my rack.
Yes, I got it. Well, it used to be called Mom Roar Boutique, and God, I mean, that came up probably in the middle of the night, feeding Gio. When I started, he was 6 months old. I was probably brain dead in the middle of the night. I'm like, I'll call it up Mom Roar Boutique. What does that even mean? I don't even know. So I changed it, but it had its day. It's where it all started, right?
Right.
Well, cool. I really enjoy, we bounced around on a lot of different topics here. That's why I like finding out about people's days, because then you can really find out what's important to them or important to their business. What are their non-negotiables? What things do they make time for every day, and how do they do it? And I feel like the more people are exposed to that nitty-gritty stuff, when you're new, you want to know, how do I actually make this work? Many of us have come from corporate America in some way, shape, or form, and don't know how to make your own day. When you have the freedom to do anything you want in a day, it's hard sometimes to pick and choose, what you should do in a day for yourself. So I think learning more from everyone that does it differently is just so great. Do you have any last wisdom, last parting words, anything you want to leave the viewers with?
Yes. Yeah. If you do go full time, or even when you're part time, because I was part time for a number of years before I was ever to be able to go full time. Structure a part of your day. Give yourself some structure, making sure I do my shipping and my listings first in the day is actually really beneficial, because then if I can do whatever I want with the rest of my day, and it doesn't affect my business anymore as much, because I already got the important parts, especially if you're eBay. That's important. Because you only need a few bad defects, and that will can your eBay account, and they will actually close your eBay account if you have too many defects. And so you want to keep that as healthy as possible. And I protect that aggressively now. So I'm making sure, if I have a bunch of eBay packages, that's also one of the reasons I'm going to the post office is I'm going and I'm making sure I get scanned in, or I scan it out of the box in the lobby and I get a receipt. So I can prove I dropped these off.
Right, exactly. No, I think that's great. I think that's really helpful. And I think it's good for people to see, you know, that there are people that do a lot of superstructure over plan, if you will. Like you said, your husband and I do.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know,
he would never be able to resell because he'd be planning it still.
And then, you know, people like yourself where you like to have the freedom to choose and all of that kind of thing, and to take it a little bit more, you know, spontaneously. I'm having trouble finding my words today. But on that note, I think we will leave it. Tell everyone again, all of your handles or where they can find you. I know it's super similar, just so they can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, I'm Vandy's Closet across the board. So you can find me on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. You can find me on YouTube. You can, except for Reselling, my podcast is not under Vandy's Closet.
Right.
But I think if you Google Melissa Vandridge, you will also find me as well there. But Reselling, it'll pop up in any of the podcast platforms you listen to them.
Right.
And yeah, on Instagram, I'm Vandy's Closet. Drop me a DM if you have questions. I'm always available.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for a great show today. And thank you for all the content you put out. There's lots more that I need to catch on your channel from the things and especially the podcast, because I didn't know about that. So that's awesome. For everyone watching at home, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. If you've not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to the channel. I would love it so we can hang out again. Subscribe to Melissa as well. Leave a comment down below, say hi to us, and I read and respond to all my comments. So I definitely hope you say hi and like this video on your way out. I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.